Okay, what I have here is this little minuet from Mozart. I've taken just the first line for us, and this is a piece that we looked at in the first class. It's the little solo flute thing. It was actually 4 lines long, but I want to just look at the first line in this video because it does something kind of interesting that I want us to look at. So let's hear it first. Always important when you're going to analyze something, get it in your head first. Don't completely trust what's on the page. Listen to it and see if anything jumps out at you. So let's just hear it and get it in our head. Okay, and then start it over. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split this in half, pretty much. So right about here, right where there's this breath mark. So let's look at this part first, and then this part second, including this last note. Okay, I wonder if I could, nope, whoops, that's what I want to do. Okay, so here's what we're going to do here. Let's just try to figure out what scale is being used in each of these two parts. Okay, so in this first part, we don't have any accidentals, right? So I know these notes up here, they can be kind of hard to read when you're just getting used to it. So I'll just tell you this is E, C, E, F, G, G, F, D, B, D, E, F, F, E. So no accidentals so far, right? So that means we're probably in the key of C major. If we want to be sure, here's what we can do. Let's lay them out in a single octave, okay? So E, C, E, F, G. So I'm going to jump over here really quick, and I'm just going to do it all in a single octave. Would I say E, C, E, F, G? So I'm not going to repeat notes here. And ideally, I'd put them in order, but that's going to be hard to do really fast. So G, F, D, B, D. I'm just making sure I'm not repeating notes here. So D, B, I think that's it for new notes. So let's go D and B. Okay, now actually let's put them in order. I'll just do it down here. So C, E, no, there's a D over here. And then E, we have an F, we have a G. It doesn't look like there's an A, but there is a B. Right? Cool. So what we can do here, we have a missing note. There's one missing note right here. There's an A, but we can tell we're probably, 99% sure safe bet that we're in the key of C major. Because if we count up, we have whole step, half step, whole step. The missing note would be a whole step, and then a whole step from the missing note to B, and then a half step to C. So that makes a C major scale if we just use our imagination on that missing note. So this pretty safe bet is in the key of C for now. Now let's look at this other half because it changes, and this is okay because it can use everything can be based on a certain scale in one part of the song and change for another part of the song. Now we're going to let's take a little sidebar really quick here before we look at this second half. A couple of times in this video, and I think the previous one, I've accidentally said the word key instead of the word scale. Let me explain what we're hearing when I say that. What I'm trying to talk about here is we're talking about all the notes being based in a single scale, but what we're going to start talking about is how that scale relates to the key that we're in. So we're going to start talking about keys. But for now, I'm really focusing on just what scale are all these notes being pulled from. And that usually equates to the key we're in also. So I'm trying to use the word scale, but in case I use the word key and you're confused, that's why I'm doing it. So let's look at the scale for this part. So let's pick apart our notes here. E, C, A. So let's just go back over here and let's maybe get rid of this stuff. And let's just list our notes, same as before. E, C, oops, that's not an E. E, C, A. Okay, E, C, A, C, A, F sharp. Well, that's a new one, right? So we can tell, because there's an accidental on it, we're not using just C major scale anymore. Because that note does not happen in the C major scale. There is no F sharp. There is an F natural, but there is no F sharp. Okay, A, F sharp. We've already had both of those. D, we have not had a D yet. We have had a C and we have not had a B. So I need to add D and B. There's a D and there's a B. D and B. E, we have had. D, C, we have had. B, we have had. A, we have had. And then G, I don't think we have had a G. Let's add a G. Okay, now let's put those notes in an order from low to high. Now let's do it from C, because I wrote C as the lowest note, and that's fine. I might have to do this again once we figure out the key. So let's see, D. Is there an E? Yes. F sharp. G. There is an A. There is a B. And then we already had a C. Let's put that C there again just for the fun of it. Okay, what do we have here? Because now I'm able to spell a C to C scale, but it has an F sharp in it. So it's not a C major scale, right? So let's use our pattern here. This is where this pattern has to get used very carefully. So let's just count out the pattern using what we know. So we're looking for whole step. Yes, that is a whole step. Whole step. D to E. Yes, that is a whole step. E to F sharp. What we need here by the pattern is a half step, but this is a whole step, right? This is a half step out here, so it's all weird. So let's just try. We know that that doesn't work. It can't be C because my pattern is wrong. So let's try starting on a different note, right? How about we start on D and do the pattern? So whole step, that's correct. Half step, that's correct. Whole step, whole step, whole step. No, that's a half step. So our pattern almost works in the key of D, but not quite, because we would need a C sharp here, right? So it doesn't quite work, so let's keep going. Let's go to E. Whole step, whole step. No, that's a half step. So it doesn't work there either. It's going to work sooner or later, trust me. Let's try F sharp. We need a whole step. Nope, that one breaks right away because that is a half step. We need a whole step. Let's try G now. Whole step to A, whole step to B, half step to C. Now let's circle around. So we're on C, so we need whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. Gets us back to G. It works. G works. So what our scale actually is G, F sharp, G. There we go. So this is what our scale actually is. Now when I put all these notes together, I put them from C to C, which there's no reason to do that except that we were used to seeing C. So that's why I put it there. It doesn't have to be though. So for the second part of the melody, we are using the scale of G major. And for this first part, we're using the scale of C major. Now, hey, here's another big clue. Remember in the previous video, I said it would be wise to end the melody on the tonic, right? And look at what we do. We go da 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 da, boom, G. It ends on G. This one doesn't end on C, but it's based around C. This one does end on G. The second half does end on G. So there you go. That's how we can figure out what scale is being used. You just have to dissect, take all the notes that you're seeing, which is what we have here, put them in an order, try to find the pattern of whole steps and half steps, and then once you find the note that it works for, and don't be afraid to circle around again, then put them in that order, and now you know what you're in. Now, once we start talking about keys, I'm going to give you a much faster way to do that, because there's a much quicker way that when I look at this, I could just see right away that the second half of that melody is in the key of G. Without doing any analysis. There's something that just sticks right out at me. And we're going to talk about that very, very shortly. But when it comes to just using scales, that's how it works. So with that being said, let's start talking about keys and what it means to be in a key in the next video.